Alabama takes on Arkansas. That is Saturday at 11 o'clock at Bryant-Denny Stadium. We're live, everybody. Not by plan, but we're after Hey Coach, and we know that you guys want to talk some Alabama football. So before we give you a little appetizer, something just to kind of whet your palate, whether it be a bloomin' onion or ahi tacos, I want to ask you guys to do us a favor, and that is like and subscribe and follow and be part of the Bama Tailgate channel. This is Bama Tailgate Daily, the late night edition. He's Chad Anderson, and I'm Mick Gillispie, and Alabama and Arkansas play this Saturday at 11 a.m. That's Chad's favorite time for a football game. He likes to get up early. And
it's the Auburn time.
That's right. It's the Auburn time, Chad. You know that. But Bama's 26-7 against Arkansas all time. And I brought this up to you before. You probably feel like I just said this. But when you take away the 16 straight that Alabama's had, think about that. It was like it was like 10-7.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts?
It's crazy.
That's such a great stat that you grabbed and kind of put some context around it. Because when you told me a minute ago about that, I would not have believed that was the case. If you had said, hey, did you know through their first 17 matchups that Alabama only led the series 10-7? Like, hell no, they didn't.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
You're full of
that. Yeah, it's that lopsided, which is insane. But then when you do go back and you look, it's like, well, damn, it did kind of alternate. Like it felt like Alabama would never win in Fayetteville, always struggled up there, missed PATs, missed field goals. Mark Gillen starting as your quarterback, the third stringer in 2004. I was there in 90. What was that? 97, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
or no, 2000. There was lightning before the game and a phantom holding call. That was the game where Freddie Millins wouldn't get off the bus. Do you remember that?
28-21. No, why? It was a 28-21 Arkansas.
It was 28-21. Yeah.
Bama had the lead. Bus?
He was protesting Zhao and Tyler Watts. And
that's right.
He wouldn't get off the bus. And it was crazy because Freddie was going to be the star that year. He returned the opening punt for a touchdown 3 weeks prior out in Pasadena.
Yeah.
And Alabama goes on to lose that game in the final couple of minutes. It's just weird. It did become that series where it just alternated back and forth. But when you told me that stat, my mind was blown. I never put it in that kind of perspective.
Well, look at this. You got a 16-game winning streak for Alabama over Arkansas. And last year was a 49-26 win at Arkansas. That's the game that was started by Jalen Milroe. And if you remember, he got the big lead and then he started turning the ball over. He was like running where he just all of a sudden it's just like the game just fell apart for him. And then they finally got it back together again. And it looked like even Bryce Young was going to have to come back in the game. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was the big question in the second half because the game, it looked like it was going to be an absolute blowout. It was a blowout. It was 28-0 at one point. And then Arkansas scored a touchdown right before halftime. And then all those little things started happening, a turnover. And then Alabama had that punt issue around their own goal line. Arkansas picked up a safety. I think it was. No, they just scored a touchdown, didn't get the 2. But yeah, going into that fourth quarter, Arkansas was only down by 5.
Right.
After trailing 28-0. So yeah, that was on the road. Crowd got behind them. Some voodoo started to happen. but Alabama, survive, advance, get out of there. But this Arkansas team, we've mentioned it a couple of times. It just sucks. Like this whole setup sucks. Like, be honest with yourself. Are you a Bama fan excited about Arkansas? No. Every Bama fan can't wait to get to Tennessee next weekend.
Right.
They are licking their chops.
Yeah.
Milton and Josh Heupel and just everything going
Licking
on
their
from last year.
cigars. Can't
Yeah.
wait to get those cigars out after 10. It's not like Tennessee, rubbed it in our faces at all or anything
No,
after
never.
that.
No,
I mean,
not at
they
all.
were great winners.
Yeah, very gracious.
Been
Yeah.
there before. Been there
Yeah.
before.
But that's what sucks about this week, right? Is you got to play a game against an annoying opponent who's just talented enough at 11 a.m. on homecoming. It just sucks. And you're coming off 2 SEC road victories, one of them A&M, which was a big one that people didn't, think Alabama was going to be able to handle. And now you got to have this sandwich game, this letdown game before next week. And it just, I hate all of it. In fact, maybe save the picks for the tailgate show, but man, it's hard not to like Arkansas plus the points. I mean,
a
it
20-point spread right now. I took, well, that means they're going to cover because I took Alabama, which you guys can watch that video in the morning.
Yeah.
Bama's 12-3 against Arkansas. I don't know, Chad. I just feel like this team has had so many struggles that they're not looking past anybody. I mean, come on. I know we're looking past them, but they barely beat South Florida. They lost to Texas the first half against Ole Miss. And I just feel like since then, it's kind of been like you see the process that Nick Saban taking these guys and they make mistakes, but they do a lot of things right. I don't know. I mean, I just got this feeling that the defense is going to shut down Arkansas. And you're saying, well, who are the Arkansas guys to keep an eye on? Well, obviously it's KJ Jefferson. It almost feels like the guy's been playing college football for like 10 years. He's 67% passer this year, 1,300 yards right on the button, right? 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So that hasn't been great. His number one target, though, has been Andrew Armstrong, who's caught 4 of those touchdowns and has, just about 450 yards and 35 receptions. So that's really impressive. I mean, that would be tops on Alabama, right? And then Rocket Sanders. You got to like Rocket Sanders. 34 rushes, 91 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not the type of year that he could have. But these guys have lost 4 in a row, and I feel like they're desperate for something to turn this season around. They lose another one, and it's 5 in a row, and this has become a disastrous campaign for them. They win this ball game, and everybody forgets about the BYU and the Ole Miss and the LSU. They forget about all of that stuff, and all of a sudden they're focused on, hey, you know what? We beat Alabama, and that's why Alabama has to really keep their head on a swivel. They also lost to Texas A&M, but they've been competitive.
Yeah, they have. You also look at the thing with Arkansas. If I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm a little obviously disappointed that you're 2-4, but it's also just where the trajectory of this team is going. You scored 31 against BYU at home. You scored 31 on the road at LSU and kind of surprised a lot of people that game was that tight. But then you follow it up with only 22 points against A&M at a neutral site, and only 15 were generated by the offense because 1 score was a defensive score. Then last week, you only get 7 in the first half against Ole Miss. You finished the game with 20 points against the Rebels, granted on the road. But it's just, if KJ Jefferson is this guy, then there just hasn't been a lot from the offense. And you can see like how it's kind of started to filter out a little bit and fade over the last couple of weeks. So I'm with you, though. That makes this team even that much more dangerous because they do have some talent. They have enough talent to cause problems. But I think this game you're going to start seeing haymakers. I think you're going to see Arkansas do everything. Like you said, they're desperate. They're backed into the corner, and 2-4 is rough. 2-5 looks horrendous. And if you're Arkansas, like, I just wouldn't be surprised if you don't see some onside kicks. They did that last year in Fayetteville. I wouldn't a surprise onside kick. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw fake punts, fake field goals, a lot of trick plays, just anything they've got in the playbook. This is the chance that's left on their schedule, because after this, their schedule is actually super easy. They don't play another ranked team the rest of the year. So this is it for Arkansas, like if they want to make a statement for this season.
Well, Chad, I'm going to blow your mind here.
You've done it once.
I know. Well, yeah. Well,
take it easy.
Yeah. So get ready. Get ready for this. Tell me you haven't heard this before. This is the lowest ranking that Alabama's been, or the highest ranking, I guess, however you want to look at it. If you want to say like, going this way or whatever, but since they weren't ranked in 2007. So let me run through these for you, because I'm sure you haven't heard this already, but in 08, Bama was 9. 09, they were 3. 2010, they were 1. 11, 3. 12 and 13, they were 1. 14, 7. 15, 8. Think about some of those years, too. They were 8, and they came back and won the championship in 2015. Yeah. 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20, Bama was number 1, numero uno. And then the last 2 years, they were number 2.
That's my favorite, man, is if you're Arkansas, and because Bama, historically under Nick Saban has always been in that top 2 or 3 spot in the preseason. So they don't lose a lot of September games. So they hang out in that 1 or 2 spot. But imagine Arkansas every year and you get your schedule, like your little magnet that you put on the fridge as a fan and you're putting it up there. You're like, right. All right, here. God dang, we're number 1 again. Like, when are we ever going to get rid of these guys? I mean, right. Imagine having to play the number 1 or 2 team every single 3rd or 4th Saturday of September, or maybe first Saturday of October, over and over and over. That's insane. That's right up there with Arkansas only trailing 10-7 in the series before Nick Saban arrived. Arkansas's played number 1 or number 2 Alabama. Obviously they won't this year, but before this year, what was that? 7 years in a row? 6 years in a row?
Yeah, crazy, right?
That's nuts, man. That's nuts.
It also shows you how consistently good Alabama's been. You and I were kind of talking about this on another show, and I'll bring it up again here. But the losses stick out just because honestly, it feels like Alabama's won a lot of these games, but Arkansas went on a stretch from 93 until 2000, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, and then they won in 2003 and 2006. I was at the 97 game. Arkansas was ranked 11th.
Did Dubose not go for 2 in that game?
Oh, actually, Alabama was ranked 11th, and Arkansas wasn't ranked, and it was a 17-16 Arkansas win, and we just couldn't figure out how to – the tight end would just run down the middle of the field like with no one within like 60 yards of him. Mike DuBose coaching. What was that you were saying?
I was saying, did Mike DuBose fail to go for 2 in that one? Like, was it 16 or 10-9 and Alabama scored, and then they only
I don't remember
1?
I just remember like – looking at that game, being at that game and it being like 150 degrees and being there like, with like the fraternity gear on and like just being like really hot and wanting to get out of there.
So it went real quick. 3-0 Arkansas, 3-3. It was 6-3 Alabama at halftime. Then it went 10-6 Arkansas. 10-9 Arkansas at the end of the third. Bama scores a touchdown with 9:25 to go in the game, and they kick the extra point to go up 16-10 instead of going for 2 to make it 17-10. And then Arkansas scores with 1:45 to go and ends up winning the game 17-16.
I went with the date then, and when they were scoring, I hid, like I had to get down and because I couldn't watch. I just remember that. And she just never dated me again. Like it was, it was a sad day for me. Because I saw it coming. He might have. I saw that loss coming. That loss coming. It was just so hot. And that was like the beginning of a lot of losses.
That it was.
It was. Yeah, it was like all of a sudden, like, we went from being a very good Alabama program when they ran Gene Stallings off to a program that stunk. And we never really got back on our feet until after that. But so that's why this one's so important. And what I want to tell all of you guys hanging out, watching, is that Friday, 5 to 7, we're going to be live on the channel from Innisfree in Tuscaloosa. And since Chad's not allowed in there after what happened, last time he was in town, no, I'm just kidding. He's going to be. I'm just joking.
There have been nights that I don't remember, but I'm pretty confident in this one.
No, you've never been like one. I had a friend that got kicked out of the old Innisfree for a while for fighting. Back in college, Pat Weaver. Do you remember Pat Weaver?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, somebody Pat. Watching knows Pat Weaver got into a fight in the bathroom there, and now it's where the gray lady is.
They call you Floribama Mick, though.
I'm a Floribama guy, but you know what? I love Innisfree. Trip and those guys are fun, and so it'll be a great hangout for us, and it's where the show is a lot when we're in Tuscaloosa. So we'll be back there again for the Tennessee game, and you've kind of hinted that you may roll into town.
We'll be rolling in that night. Yeah, we're looking forward to that one.
That'll be fun. All right. Well, look, we've kind of given everyone the appetizer of this Alabama-Arkansas game, Chad. But what I want to do now is this is going to really blow your mind. What's your favorite appetizer, restaurant-wise? Like what restaurant and what's the appetizer?
Apps are
Are you guys appetizer people?
Sometimes. I mean, it kind of depends. Like I'll end up being that guy that just eats 2 appetizers for dinner.
Right.
Are you that guy? You ever done that? Or
yeah, I do. Well, I'll tell you, when I go to the Floribama, I love the tuna dip.
Yeah.
And so if I'm in the yacht club or the Old River Grill, I'm like, hey, let's just do we'll just do the tuna dip with cracker and hot sauce,
jalapeno.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. But the problem is I've got a weak stomach in my older age. So I love where you're going with this. I love where you're going with this.
Yeah. Bushwhacker Mick with a weak stomach. That's irony.
That's all right. Can I tell this story? You brought this up because we're already here now. So his friend Ben, my acquaintance, but long time, guy. We were both in Ben's wedding, and Ben worked with us on the radio in Tuscaloosa, and that's when tragedy happened. Alabama in 2016 was playing Ole Miss. I've talked about this before. You guys probably have heard this story, but we did the pregame show from Brick and Spoon, and they brought in the giant Bloody Marys. Like those things are like, it's like a goblet of Bloody Mary, and it has like eggs on it and bacon and all kind of stuff. And so then those guys were staying at a condo. I wasn't invited there. So it was him and Mike Johnson, and they went back to the condo. I went and watched the game from the Floribama. Okay. So I'm watching the game at the Floribama, and if you remember that one, we were way behind, and then Jalen Hurts came into his own that day. And that's what ended, I think, the 2-game losing streak to Ole Miss, right? We came from behind and stunned them at the end of the game.
It was 21-0, I think.
It was, early. It was something like that. Well, it was a really hot day on the shore, on the shore of Perdido Key, on the Gulf. It was hot. And we were on radio at the time, which I hope that we never do that again. Don't ever do the post-game show for a radio station that has a post-game show that comes on after a post-game show. So like you guys want to watch the post-game show, you want to talk about the game, you can do all that with us right after the game's over. And if it's a blowout, we'll even come on before the game. So we had to wait to do this show. And that's not an excuse, but people were buying shots and stuff in the place, and I'm fine. I'm an Irish guy. So long story short, I interviewed the owner, John McInnes, who's in the same fraternity as me, and we had a great conversation about Kenny Chesney and life and everything else. And they brought these bushwhackers out, and they had floaters on them, which is like I guess it's like 151. Like you could light they could light the shit on fire. So anyway, I didn't know, and I ended up getting drunk like Otis on Andy Griffith when actually like Barney, when Otis put and if you don't know this, guys, if you're young, just Google it.
Oh, it spiked the spring water.
It spiked the spring water. You know this.
Oh yeah.
And your friend Ben and my acquaintance Ben, he was our partner, and he's a really serious, great journalist. He's awesome on these shows. Now he's in North Carolina, so he probably won't even find out that we're talking about this. But he was an Alabama guy, went to school with us, and he worked at the station at the time. So he probably was like worried, like they're, and people were like texting, like, "What's wrong with Mick? What's wrong with Mick?" And I got off the air. And so for 2 weeks, Chad, Ben was giving me the stink eye during the show, which he wasn't even on that show. He was on the pregame show, but he didn't do the postgame show. And he was giving me the stink eye. It's a term I learned when I lived in Hawaii. And then, so, I for 2 weeks, every time the phone rang, I'm like, man, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired, And so what the game plan was if I got in trouble, to just blame it that it was the oysters, like that I got bad oysters. So if you know this, if people like, if somebody had a little bit too much, it's like, you just blame it on the oysters. Man. They got some bad oysters, right? Which is, it's a real thing, So, I mean, we're at the point now where we can kind of, on this channel here, we can kind of talk about that. The guy that ran the station, whatever, if it happened now, if that happened to you, you come and do a show with me, you're staying on camera.
Yeah. Oh, well, you lock in on that guy. In fact, you become the center of attention.
Yeah. I got a ride home. My wife came and picked me up. We got a ride home. Everything was cool, except that for 2 weeks, I'm getting fired from a part-time job, which wasn't even supposed to be a job. It was supposed to be like, when I started, we owned the show. We just put it on there. And then, the guy kind of, he kind of snookered us out of the show, and that's a whole nother topic. But anyway, that's what happened. With that said, let's get back to the topic at hand before we wrap things up. Appetizers, your favorite appetizer.
All right, I got two.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I got two. So the first one, I'm going more old school. I think I've eaten there once in like 3 years, kind of thing. But I loved the Outback Bloomin' Onion. Loved it. But that appetizer was kind of like going to a Mexican restaurant and eating the chips and salsa.
Right.
Because once you eat it, your entree comes out and you're like, what the hell I even order for? I can't
got the steak
this.
And you're like, what am I doing?
What am I doing? I got 8 pounds of grease, smothered in some sort of Outback sauce hanging around in my intestines down here.
Yeah, right.
What am I even doing? So, but the Bloomin' Onion, man, that was
the
one
dipping
of my
sauce. And let me ask you this about the Blooming Onion. You're out on the date. Who would you rather have, the Blooming onion breath, you or your date back then? Because you're married now, so it doesn't count. But I'm saying back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, 100%, you got to be the guy with the onion breath, right? Like, you don't want to kiss the onion. Unfortunately, she's just got to deal with it. It just is what it is.
Right.
Yeah, she's got to take it.
She's just going to take it and maybe you'll never see her again.
Yeah,
she's just going to be like, that onion's made my stomach hurt, Chad. I'm going to head home right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, no big deal.
Roll over and play dead.
Yeah, whatever. It just doesn't matter. So no, 100%. Back then,
okay,
for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And what else?
It's not you were in love at 21, right?
No. What else?
All right. So second one, a little more sophisticated, Mick.
Classy.
A little more like classy, hits the palate.
Kind of what you are now is a guy that owns his own mortgage company.
Yeah.
This guy who has revolutionized the mortgage business and did sports broadcasting for all these years. So when you go out, people are going to be like, hey, there's Chad Anderson. Like, okay, you got to look cool. So it's got to be a good restaurant and a good appetizer. What is it?
It's really awkward to go out, man. I mean, if I don't have my hat and glasses, I'm not going out. Like, it's an awkward thing. Yeah, I don't like to draw attention. I would say Del Frisco's.
See, there you go.
It's a good place. And they have this appetizer of ahi tuna tacos.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what it is, man, but the little shell is perfect size, perfect crunch, like the crunch and then the soft, chewy ahi tuna, a little aioli, a little wasabi, a little avocado
love
creme.
that.
Oh, I mean, chef's kiss on that one. It's so good, and you can eat a meal after. Like it is the perfect warm up to the main course.
Yeah.
Whereas the bloomin' onion, man, I feel like you just roll me over and, leave me near the bathroom and I'll be okay. But it's so good. It's so good. But those are my two.
I know I've been in ballparks where they give away like coupons for a free blooming onion. And I'm like, here's a coupon I'm never going to use, but now I know I can use it. All right, look, here's my two. And actually, you bringing up the ahi brings up another one that I used to go to, but there's a restaurant called the Chop House. It's near the baseball stadium I work at. And they have great appetizers. One of them is these little tamale cakes. And then they've got like a special avocado sauce that they chop up. It's almost like relish type stuff. It's so amazing. 4 cakes come. You get a big group, and then that way you don't get stuffed on those things. But I like those. And then they have these deviled eggs that are gourmet deviled eggs with bacon, applewood smoked bacon, a little bit of sugar on there, and they're amazing. I get those every time I'm there. They come in 6. But I used to get the ahi tuna. I mean, I used to get that so much, the ahi tuna appetizer, but I would get it as a main course because I loved it so much. I'd come in and they would know right away. I'd say, hey, guess what I want? And they would just write it down and walk off, because I ate there so much. We used to get half price there, and they had that, and then they sold, and the new owner was brilliant. He got rid of the half price for the baseball team and got rid of that. So we don't go there as much, but all those 3 are great.
Sharp businessman.
Yeah. Let's get these people out of here with their half price deal, right? So
that's funny.
Yeah. All right.
Good
What's
stuff.
that? Yeah.
No,
well, that's
stuff.
it. That's it. If you guys didn't know, this is the second time we've done this show because I messed it up. So if you feel sorry for us, please like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. I'm a walk-on. I make mistakes. But you know what? You didn't see the first one. And if you did, you'd be like, the sound quality's terrible. At least these guys went back and did it over Saban style, because we know that if we're covering Alabama, the process matters. And it's Arkansas week. We've got to make sure that our game stays heightened. So that's what Jake Coker told me Saban used to do at practice. You do everything right. That was terrible. You guys are doing it again. Keeping
the importance of nothing
on their toes. That's right. That's what Coach said. All right. Well, like and subscribe, guys. If you enjoy, give us a thumbs up. Hit the bell so you know when we're going live. He's Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. Join our recruiting class now and be part of the channel. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, live 5 to 7. And it's free in Tuscaloosa. Yingling's on me. Roll Tide.